Hello everyone. So now you know how growth marketing works, at least part of it. You know that paid advertisement is a sophisticated process. You put lots of effort, you put money into it. So my talk today will be about how not to waste all this effort that you put in your growth marketing, in your paid ads. I'm going to be talking about how to stop day-1 churn. Who doesn't know what churn is? Okay. Just thought that might be. So probably should explain. When your users leave your app, that's a churn. I decided to, I had a last-minute feedback because my previous talk was about MVP. I was talking about MVP for 40 minutes, and in the end, people asked if it's minimum viable. No, most valuable player. Yeah. So yeah, just in case. Right. So paid ads get users to click, and your onboarding keeps them. So our whole evening today is about first-time user experience, starting with user clicking on the ad, then landing to your App Store page, and then eventually finding themselves in your app. So when they click on your ad, it's like a knock on the door, but your product onboarding is an invitation for them to come and to stay. So I'm going to cover four parts of my talk. I will talk about post-acquisition state. It's the state a person finds themselves after they clicked on the ad. Then the second part would be about several types of onboarding paradigms. The third part would be about the root causes of churn, like the main problems, why people churn, why people leave your product. And the last part would be about how to architect your onboarding so that your users actually retain and return on day one. Day one, meaning that the next day, when they land on your app, after they click on your ad, that's day zero. And day one is the next day. So something in your onboarding process will make them stay, will make them return the next day. Why I'm talking about all that here today, because I spent some time working in video games industry. That's where I learned about game user experience, game mechanics. I also spent some time working in tech startups, software as a service, and I also have masters in psychology. So what I do is I apply behavioral science to products, to create product strategy that actually is tailored around user mentality, about how their brain works, around their psychology. So that's me. And I'm going to start with some alarming fact that 74 to 80% of your users will delete your app on day one. Yeah, just sit with that a bit. That's really alarming statistics, but it's so. There are several misconceptions about why, and the biggest one is that something's wrong with my interface, like my button has the wrong color. That's a fantastic resource. It's called User in Your Face. Yeah, but actually it's not. Like your button color, your UI is less important than how much cognitive load your onboarding puts on your user, or how they work with the motivation. So let's talk about part one. What's the post-acquisition state of your user? Because that's important, because actually there's a whole neuroscience behind that. I started digging into this topic because that's the problem I see often. I'm part of several fantastic projects here, local Scottish startups, and they all do the same mistakes. So apart from just telling them, hey, this is not how it should be, let's fix that, I started digging deeper into neuroscience behind that, like why things are the way they are. And it's really fascinating what I digged out. So when your user clicks on the ad, they have a specific expectation. They don't just download the app, they download the promise. Right. Because, like Sid mentioned, there is a certain hook in your ad that makes them click. So the ad basically creates tension between the state the users are at the moment, and then the ad shows them the ideal state they want to be in. So like Sid put it exactly right, they might even know they have this problem, right? And then they see this ad, and it's like, have you checked your cholesterol or something? And you're like, yeah, might need some. So the ad creates the tension, and then the transition happens when you shift from being a consumer of the content of a marketing ad to being an actual doer, like user. You shift from consuming to acting upon, but you want to confirm if the ad's promise is correct, because ad gave you a promise, and now you want to see if it's really true. It's especially harsh situation if the ad is like it's called perk ads. It's when they promise you some money or some social value. You know, it's usually for banking apps, for financial apps, when they say, sign up today and you're going to have like 200 pounds for your account and you can start trading immediately. So that's perk ads, and they create particularly skeptical state of your user because they just want to find out where's the catch. Like, right, I was given free money. They don't land in your product as a curious explorers. They are vested. They either want to just have their money and leave, or they want to find where's the catch and just confirm their concerns, basically. There's a very cute metaphor. You can think of a user as an informer of war. There's information foraging theory, meaning that same way as animals, they have their senses, like their smell, their vision, or whatever other senses animals have, and they try to scan the environment around them, trying to understand if there's a food. So if their senses tell them there's food around, they stay. So it's a valuable spot. They stay here for this value. If their senses tell them there's nothing here, they just shift, they go. And it's the same for users when they land into your product. They use their visual perception to seek for information cues. So they, like this cute animal, whatever, wombat, I guess, they like, where's the value, right? Where's the value here? I need to find. And so if your value is hidden behind the walls of information, behind ambiguous, most likely AI-generated text that doesn't allow them to understand, all right, what I'm doing here, like, where's the promise? They just leave. So it's the same way to think about it. No. Okay. There's an industry standard. There's a 60-second threshold. That's the time you have to prove them that where they landed is actually a valuable spot, that they will be able to find something. That's why for some reason, everybody, well, not everybody, okay, many companies do this lengthy registration process, you know, when you see the app that promises you to have 6-packs app, and then you land there to their web onboarding, and then you have like 30 questionnaire that's like, all right, ask you about everything about your life. And with each cognitive effort the person needs to put into all the steps that come after, this threshold just drastically reduces. That's why, again, you need to aim for providing value first, for showing them something, to giving them something, even if it's not like immediate action you can give them, but at least you show them somehow that they landed in the right place. So value will be there just with them very soon. Now I'm going to tell you about several types of onboarding that are typically there, and think of this as think of our brain as a battery. So our brain has a cognitive resource, and it's really limited. Think of it as a very little battery that has like 60 seconds, like that can exist for, its charge can live up to 60 seconds. And the more cognitively taxing your onboarding process is, the quicker user will get tired and eventually churn. So there are 4 types of onboarding. There's the forced walkthrough, there are contextual tooltips, progressive disclosure, and self-directed exploration. I'm going to touch upon each of them, but we're going to start with forced tutorials, and that's the worst one, because think of it, so if you start your onboarding with, hey, look, here you go, like you start here, then you go here, and all this time your screen is locked, your user can't do anything. It's the same as if you just bought a new car, or you're about to buy a new car, you want to feel the steering wheel, like feel how the door handles work, and instead the lovely salesmen, they offer you to read the car's manual first. So it's the same when you force user to go through your tutorials without giving them allowing them to even have a look at your interface. There are exceptions from these rules. Because if you build in complex enterprise software, if you build in complex healthcare care product or serious manufacturing tool, that's where you actually need to teach them how to first, because the stakes are too high. So if somebody's lives depends on, like, if you explore the app well or not, you'd rather teach them first. Think of it as push and pull paradigms. So when you enforce your onboarding, your tooltips, your walkthrough on your user, it's like you push, like a push notification, it's the same. And the opposite of it is pull. So it means that when the user arrives at a certain point, they can just pull the lever and information will be delivered right when they need it and right in the right amount where they need at this moment. So there are 3 ways within the pull paradigm. So number 1 is onboarding as contextual tooltips. So think of it as a helpful co-pilot. You land, and then you are not forced, you don't have this forced walkthrough, but for example, you're able to operate the software, but then at some point when you land at the area which might be a bit complicated, or developers saw that usually users stop there and like this, they saw analytic metrics that probably there's some cognitive load raise, and that's where they can introduce one tooltip, for example. They see that user is puzzled, so that's where you can weigh them and say, hey, click here to proceed. That was one. Another one is progressive disclosure. It's like you are giving them the training wheels before you give them the proper bike. Usually it's relevant for video games. When you start a game, especially if the interface is complicated, you don't show them everywhere so that you don't overload them with information. You just like give them a character and give them the first task. Then the character finds the stick, and now the character can save the stick, and that's where you introduce that you have an inventory. And then the character meets the first enemy, and you hit the enemy, and now you introduce that you have a health bar, for example. So you don't pull out everywhere. Or it's the same, some software, they have like basic mode and advanced mode. So when you are a new user, or when you're a casual user, you have like 1 button set up or 3 buttons set up. But then later on, when you're more advanced, when you're more confident, you just cut these training wheels, and you have a more sophisticated, more controlled environment. Last onboarding type within the pull paradigm is self-directed exploration. So that's a kind of a apotheosis of freedom for user. That's where they feel competent. That's where it stems from self-determination theory. It's a motivational theory. Again, almost all games rely on that. It stems from 3 pillars: autonomy, competence, and relatedness. So the most important thing is to give user the autonomy. So it means that you don't cut the controls from them. You give them the agency, so they are capable. You don't force them to do anything, and you don't restrict them. You just give them this free roaming. And then there's a feeling of competence, meaning that user must not feel like they're clueless, right? Your interface should be intuitive enough to nonetheless guide them. So they should understand that most likely if they want to create presentation, there should be a button create presentation somewhere. But they learn it themselves, like you don't force them, and that's what makes the difference. Now we're moving on, and I'm going to be talking about the causes of churn. So most popular, the most critical one. The first thing you need to understand is that you need to earn users' trust. In order to retain them, they need to trust you. And the biggest thing that kills the trust is a sign-up wall. And like, how many products do start with sign-up wall, right? It's like all of them, probably. The worst thing than the sign-up wall is probably the paywall. Again, Sid mentioned a good point. They will pay you eventually. But you need to earn their trust first, right? And like asking them to create an account and fill their profile is the same as asking them to marry you when you're just on the first date. Like, you need to get to know each other a bit, right? They need to understand if you are worthy of their trust. With all the privacy concerns, there are 2 outcomes if you do that. So it either triggers psychological reactions, meaning that they are so pissed because you do that they just delete your app, and it's like, that's overwhelming, that's cognitive taxing, you didn't earn my trust, I'm not going to do that. Another thing that might happen is that they just click through because they're exhausted, because they're desperate, because they are in the state of, all right, what can I do about that? So they accept. It's like a fatalistic consent, but you shouldn't think that it's a good thing. So they kind of stay, but again, you kind of breach the trust that they were about to build with you, so which is also not a good thing. Churn, reason number 2 is ad misalignment. If you play especially mobile games, that's something that you can observe quite often. So the ad is like over-promising. You see like this polished cars, fantastic, almost cinematic gameplay. And then when you download the actual game, it's like, 8-bit Super Mario style. And that's really was so overused, especially in mobile video games, that eventually regulatory bodies came and helped them. They just started to ban misleading apps because the app promises completely different thing. It's like they promise you an adventure, and then you download the app, and it's like match 3. So yeah, that's a really important thing to do. Again, remember that you are given the promise. Your goal is not for them to click. I mean, I guess it might be a North Star metric, but the point is to retain them. And even if they click and then they see that it's not what was promised, like they will churn. What's the point of deceiving them at this moment? Why does it happen? Okay. Number 3 is a comparative mindset. That's a very interesting situation when the user one day decides, it's like, all right, I'm gonna track my calories. I don't know if you ever did that. Like I've done that at some moment when I had a big move in life. I downloaded several. There are actually apps that help you to log all your belongings. It's kind of niche. It's like for nerds. And then I downloaded, there were like 3 or 5 in total, so there are not so many of them. But I downloaded all of them. And in this mode, users are particularly harsh. They really assess. So they like look at all of them and it's like, all right, which one would be the quickest at this moment to give me the value, right? Which one would be less cognitively taxing? Which one would be most intuitive? So, and at this moment, if you do anything wrong, if you ask for like extra question or your start login button is hidden somewhere, it's instant deletion, just instant deletion, and they move on because they're just one tap or swipe away from next one or from perfection. Another reason is sensitive topics and states. For some products, for example, for magazines, like the app that provides you a digital version of a magazine, your 30-day churn rate, your 30-day retention rate, might be like 9%. Whereas if it's a language learning app, it may be 2%. Because learning language is hard. And today you had your motivation, tomorrow it's gone. And right? And the app, having this app on your phone will just remind you that you are not learning, that you are not doing your homework. Or it's the same like if you decided to quit smoking or lose weight or track your money, for example. That's also like a sensitive topic. So like the app sends you push notification or it's just there, sits in your phone. It creates a cognitive burden. It means that you are not getting there where you want to be. So it's a domain-specific thing. So if you are in this vertical, you need to be even more cautious, even more prompt in providing value, even more intuitive, and so on. Our last part is how to actually architect your experience for your users so that they stay and they log the next day. In a nutshell, like the most important thing that if it's just one thing you remember from this talk is that deliver core value fast. So the faster you can deliver this metric, the better. If you're making a food delivery app, your first value is viewing the menu. If you're making a photo editor, your first value is applying the first filter. So that gives the user what they came for. And like what for example, if it was an acquired user with paid apps, it was what your aid supposedly promised. There's a concept called aha moment. It's when the user suddenly realizes the value of your app. It's like, wow, I can have all my stuff logged and like I will know which drawer like my pencils are. That's amazing. So that's a moment, and it's not just okay, I realized my value. It's like a chemical process in your brain. There's like you can log it neurologically if you're wired with your brain. If you have this aha moment, it like permanently alters your product perception, meaning that if the product gives it to you, you will like subconsciously think it's better, that it's better than other, that is good. It's the same as you wear your winter jacket for the first time in this season and you found a 10-pound bill there. It's like, wow, so cool, right? So time to value is the metric that you need to optimize. It should be as short as possible. How you can do it? You can minimize the gap. Under 3 minutes is ideal, is an industry standard. If you do it under 3 minutes, it leads statistically, it means to 2-3 times higher day 7 retention, which is a very good thing. Number 2, you slightly exceed expectations. Again, there's a whole like neurobiology behind that. When you expect something, it's like, all right, it's gonna be like it's gonna give me like 20 question survey before I log, and when it doesn't happen, you're like, oh wow, that's so cool. And again, there's some brain magic happens in this moment, and the perceived value, it might be not even real value, but the perceived value of the product in your head changes. And it changes permanently. The more you do it, the more you kind of train your dopaminergic system. It kind of teaches. It's like a variable reward. You don't expect it, and like suddenly you, I don't know, found 10-pound bills in your pocket. Right, and the third thing is processing fluency. That's kind of an easy one. It's kind of intuitive, I guess. It's if the app is intuitive, the software, the product that you're building, if it's intuitive, again, it's in your brain, creates this kind of value and connection, and it means that, all right, because users feel that they're competent, because they might not realize it, but whenever the users can't figure out something, they're internally thinking they're dumb, and nobody wants to feel that they're dumb, right? So when the app is nice and intuitive, it creates kind of halo effect, kind of warm glow. So I'm gonna give you quickly a few examples. How to minimize the gap. I will give you an anti-example. So this is the HackerJob portal. It's the onboarding process. So these are not even all the screens. So HackerJob is like an AI portal, for AI-driven portal for applying for jobs. And you can't apply, so there is no way you can apply if you don't do their onboarding. And their onboarding is exhausting. It's like really 20 or 30 screens that you need to go through. They're all kind of nice and friendly. They explain things, but there are a lot. Like, it's just unbearable. So when I used it once, it took me 1.5 hours to answer all their questions, and in the end, the AI, like, it was a smiley face before. It's like, yeah, we're looking. I wanted to apply for one specific job, but then the AI just, no, we're gonna take your profile, we're gonna see whom we can match you with, and then it says, yeah, you have fantastic experience, methodologies. Wow, amazing, but we can't really assess visa requirements, so it means that something went wrong on their side and it prevented me, so I just wasted like 1.5 hours of my time, of my life, because something just went wrong. So they forced me, they prolonged my time to value, and they didn't give me value at all in the end. What happens next? How do you think? That's what happened to me. Like, delete account, and I left them a review, not a review, but like feedback, you know, professional and very polite. About slightly exceeding expectations. Again, think of a point where a user will be, I need to create an account. Make it a bit, like, tiny bit easier for them, tiny bit more pleasant. Yes, you do have to ask about cookie consent. But if you put a cute little dinosaur, it will make you smile. It's like, yeah, it's like you can sense they're telling, bro, we know that, yeah, you don't like cookie consents, but we can't do anything about it. And here's a cute dinosaur, so to just make it a bit better for you today. Here's another example. Again, if you absolutely must ask your user, how did you find out about us? Like, you absolutely have to give them a tiny survey or whatever. Again, put a little effort. You see, there's at the top it says, you made our marketing team's day. How sweet it is. Like, users like to feel like human in general. They like to feel helpful. They like to have this, oh, I helped somebody. It's like free charity. Another thing, you shouldn't read that. That's a French app I use because I study French. That's the rule explanation in French. It's very, like, this specific rule is a nightmare. It's very difficult. How they make, so by default everything is in French, but you can see the little pill. It means that you can click on it and it will give you an explanation in English if you like absolutely can't take it in French. What does it say in English? In English it said, I wouldn't blame you if you stood up and walked away from your computer right now, Yana. So it explained the rule, but then it validated my struggle. Moreover, it addressed me by my name. It's personalizing. That's amazing. Like, I was so happy to see that. You can't imagine. About process and fluency, again, think of it as a bumpy road and a nice, smooth highway. If your app is intuitive, like nobody likes to ride a bumpy road, so if it's smooth, no cognitive friction, value is given quickly, that's better than if it's not. It's kind of obvious. You can do it. Yes. So once again, a reminder, all 4 types of onboarding. You can see there are 2 axes, like agency, user agencies. High agency is when we're capable of doing a lot. Low agency is when they just tie your hands and you can't do anything. You just have to observe. And then another one is about learning effort, so how much effort they put. So you will hopefully remember that forced tutorial is a false competence. Firstly, they hate it. They hate you for doing that. Secondly, they don't learn anything. It's an illusion. Like I work with founders, and they're like, they want to tell it all in their onboarding. They want to explain their app through and through in every little detail, but it's just not how it works. The ideal situation is when you give user agency and let them to learn its skills on their own. That's how they learn. They learn by exploring. Call to action, what you have to remember, architect for the brain, not for the brief, meaning like marketing brief, design brief, whatever. Think about the human being on the other end. Don't just copy your competitors because they all do 50 questions onboarding service. It's not necessarily a good thing. So defer data collection as long as you can. Don't harvest data up front. I know you need it. Again, I have founders who are like, but we need to learn about them. Yes, but learn a bit later. Give them something first. The second one is pull over push, meaning don't enforce any information on your user. Try to be helpful when the user needs you. Minimize time to value, that's the most important thing you should remember, and match the ad expectation. Don't let your product be expectation reality meme. That's it. I write about it weekly in my LinkedIn newsletter. If you're curious, you can sign up via this QR code, and that's me. Thank you.
Okay, guys, just give me a second. For questions, and mic for questions.
Yeah. Thank you. I will give you a few seconds to just drink the water first.
I will drink and you can talk.
Well, thank you so much. I think this is phenomenal also for somebody like me who is a founder. I think you're touching upon the most sensitive topic that I face when it comes to facing the customers. And I'm quite particularly interested in some of the problems that you are mentioning for why they're leaving. Number one being, how do you know what they're actually going to like? Because sometimes I do worry that there is a choice fatigue, because the choice architecture of the apps that exist is insane. I'm going to get paid by walking, and then you have WeWard, you have Macadam, you have so many of these sorts of competitors, to like some of the basic stuff, like what I'm creating, which is a continuous lactate monitoring, for example, and something that is kind of more niche.
Yeah. So
that's number one. And number two, how do we discriminate what's sensitive to ask? Because currently I'm also trying to think about how to segregate my customers. And I will give you a very specific example. When I mentioned I want to bring pre- and post-menopausal women onto my sort of app and basically allow them to achieve the Olympic athlete sort of results. Everyone in the room said yes, finally, somebody that actually cares. That I said, okay, but do you mind if I ask that question just to know who belongs to each category? And then they were like, wait a minute, that's a bit too personal and people might not be willing to answer. I am respectful of that. I'm just wondering, how do we bridge that gap? Because I think that's, in my opinion, one of the biggest issues founders face, because you like to think and to take care of your customers from one point of view. From another point of view, you might be crossing the line that you don't even know it's there. And if you have any ideas, because you have ample experience in this, that's why I'm kind of interested.
Yeah,
Thank you.
That's a great question, and I like that it comes from the I care about them perspective rather than I want to harvest their money perspective. And like you kind of answered yourself, you have to know them. Like if you started, like you start, design thinking starts with discovery phase. That's where you just talk to them, right? You do discovery interviews. You try to learn how they want to be called, perceived. Like I don't want to be called a premenopausal woman. I prefer like some other terminology. Or if there are other indicators whereby if you ask them, you can kind of indirectly conclude that okay, this is probably like premenopausal woman without asking directly. Mm-hmm. But that's a valid concern. I worked at Floor Health as a female health tracking app, and like from the interviews they start like they really ask you what kind of question you wouldn't ask even on user interviews. So they need you to be cautious about it, especially like depending on the country, because like in some countries they would be, no, I can't talk about that. Again, it comes to you understanding your users, you doing your discovery research. What was your second question?
Yeah, exactly.
Was it the first question?
Know exactly what they want from the app, because that's another thing, right? One of the reasons, for example, I use Macadam for steps is because it's a cute cloud, and then every time I validate my steps, I see coins coming in, even though they're worthless. I don't care. Like, it's almost like a Scrooge McDuck kind of vibe.
Yeah.
Right? I feel like I'm gonna go into my vault and then start swimming in these coins. But that's one of the reasons what attracted me, because it's very intuitive, it's very easy, very palatable. But this is not the only app on the market, right? This is just one out of potentially 100 that I don't even know about, right?
Yeah, so, I think that's where I can throw the ball to Sid again, because that's where, right, you can have validation campaigns. So you create like 10 types of ads, and then you see which one resonated, right? Okay. Because like when you watch, I don't know if you pay for like YouTube or Spotify or whatever, ads target you, some of them resonate with you, right? You're curious to click, so like, oh my God, straight to my heart. How did they know I thought about it? Or like I didn't even think about it, but it kind of straight to the point. And some of them like, meh. And so you get some traffic and you see, it's like if this message resonates, if this positioning resonates, then okay, you hit your goal.
No, that's really good. Thank you. I'm actually going to note this down because I never even thought of that. I'm more of a paranoid user. So if the advert really targets me, I'll be like, they're listening. Because they have a valid interest in what I'm doing, clearly, obviously.
Right.
So I'm more on the paranoid side. But yeah, I like that. I think the different advertisements is an excellent way.
Yeah. Me and Sid, to your service.
Thank you.
More questions?
Oh.
Glad. Yana, obviously you gave your background in gaming kind of industry and whatever, and all of these things seem so sensible to me.
Right.
That people should be implementing. I'm probably more from a finance and corporate kind of background, and these sort of things never got discussed. End user, customer, what the customer really wants. I don't think they still do.
Really?
So they're bolting on apps to their old kind of mainframes or whatever.
Okay.
How do you get the message? How would you suggest you get that message out there? Because this is probably a small room of founders, but I get so fed up with everything that I'm forced to use every day. It drives me insane. So what's your advice to the big corporates? How do we get them to change?
Well, I think that's what we do, right? We do, like, what's it called? Thought leadership. You just create awareness. Like, that's what we do, like you and I and Sid and like others here. We do workshop, we create newsletters. We, like, as an individual, you can do only so much. But UX is a very young discipline, and it's like still some companies that they are not aware, and like, but for financial sector, I think they are kind of slowly getting there, because apps like Monzo or Revolut, they're really user. I know that they do lots of user research, and like they treat UX highly, really. So I guess for big corporation, it'll just take more time. But I know your point, and it's like, whatever I see old school website is horrible. It's like absolutely horrible. And if you have a choice, you just drop it as a user, right? If you don't, you just do a fatalistic consent that, like, there is nothing you can do, you just have to do. But yeah, just creating awareness, I think. I can't. Whenever I was invited to a company where I had to create awareness, create a department, it's just talking to everyone. Like, you start with like people who are like the most junior, or like the far from executive decisions as possible, and you just plant the seeds in like every head you can reach for. I guess that's it.
Yeah, I mean, add something to it. So it's back to the North Star. Usually when an organization focuses on revenue, they start bypassing a lot of these things. Because all that Yana mentioned here are all value drivers. But the moment revenue becomes the priority, the value is out of the way, out of the picture.
Thank you.
More questions?
I'll answer yours.
Thank you for that. I have a small situation. It's like it's not a question, but a situation. So we had we started as a like similar. You said like deliver value to the users. Yeah. So we created an app, and it was like mostly open. Yeah. So you can go explore. It was like non-authenticated mode. You can go explore. Like enjoy some functionality, like switch the tabs, click some buttons. Obviously, you will hit at some moment. You hit like the paywall. Your account needs to be activated. And we thought this was like bringing value to our users because they can explore, they can enjoy the UI, UX, etc. But as an exploration, what we did the A/B test, and for the we decided just to completely remove this experience, replace it for the like one page that saying you that your account needs to be activated. Ask your parent to activate your account, and our active users increased like 7%. So it was like a huge success. And question is like, how is it possible? The second one, how you can better understand which value user needs, like which is the false value you given to your target audience, and which is like a true value you're giving your target audience.
How do you mean false value?
I mean like, so as I said, we had this app which was exploratable.
Yeah.
And we saw that this is like we are bringing user values. They can use the UX, can like explore and can like try to do things without like being complete sign up, I would say.
Right.
And it actually ended up being a false value because of the like users. Only when the users activated, obviously they had all the functionality, but it was maybe stopping them from like being focused on being fully activated.
So if I understand correctly, if their value is to actually be activated, so then that's the value, not the free roaming in this case. Do I get it correctly?
Yes, but it was hard to understand.
Okay.
So and the question is how can I understand like what is the fake fake and true value in this case?
It's like exactly like you did. It's trial and error. Like you most likely can't know from start. Again, you do the research, or you do user research, and then you have the statistic, you have the behavioral science that tells you the guidelines. All right. So in most cases, this should work like that. Right. Yeah. What was I saying? Gosh.
That was like your conscious speaking, right?
Doing the experiments.
Right. Sorry. So you have a general guidelines from the industry, from behavioral science, from like statistics, and you architect something, and you see how it works. You see if it worked. You continue. If you try something else, you decide. You had a hype. Like, why did you start trying something else in the first place? Like, why did you decide to cut this? Was there a reason for that?
Because we do like a lot of explorations.
That's exactly what I'm saying. Like, you try things. Like, I'm sure the hypothesis didn't come just from an empty space. You sense that it might be the case that this approach would provide more value. Like, users doesn't need free roaming in this case because the value for them is to have activated account. So in your second solution, you minimize their time to value. That's why it works. That's how I see it.
By forcing them.
Well, if that's the value, that's great. You kind of push them towards that value.
Yeah, but I'm trying to say that it was like super counterintuitive. It's the first one. Second one, it was hard to communicate with the team that we should actually try it. Because people was like saying that like, why should bother? Why they should like even try it? Like, it doesn't seem that we are like bringing them value. We are reducing value.
Right. Yeah, I'll probably be among these people. But again, this hypothesis, it came from somewhere, and you probably, like, there was a reason you wanted to test it. You had some evidence, some other data, or you're like, oh, let's test this solution.
Yeah, just like, oh, let's test this solution.
All right. Well, and lucky you. We should wrap up, right?
Yeah, thank you.
No worries.
If you guys have like any last urgent question or like something like very curious to
Okay.
I have a short question.
1 minute.
Yeah.
1 minute, okay. My question is, when you are also targeting the customers online, how much information should you actually provide? And is there any tool that you can think that can maybe help us to figure it out, like how much information should be there to attract customers properly? Like, you know what I mean? So that we do not give them an illusion, like with the Big Mac thing, which is incredible, because even I can fall for this. Like, let me tell you, on those ads, they look incredible. Like, when you see them in reality, it's like disaster waiting to happen. So,
well, you start without trying to mislead them. So it should not be your goal to like overpromise, right? So you don't want them to be like, that's not the hamburger I was promised. So again, because you did your user research, you know what they're after, and you sell it as a promise. You try different options, like you test different marketing campaigns, and you bring them, and then it's like, you know, like your 30 seconds pitch. So you provide in one sentence, you give them this one sentence of what's your core, like what's it exactly that you do. It's like any landing page, you go, there would be like the first page would just give you one sentence. That's what we do. If that's not enough for them, if they want to explore more, they will scroll, and that's where you like progressively reveal more. A fantastic thing to do is to anticipate their questions that they might have. Again, because you know your users, because you talk to them, you know what kind of questions, what concerns they have. And so if your website has a Q&A section where you anticipate, again, it comes back to this, make their expecting, the friction points that they're expecting, you just make them slightly better. So they're like, or they're not telling me how exactly it's gonna work for me. I'm a premenopausal woman, like my muscles are not the same. And voila, you cover it in your Q&A. It's like, if you're a premenopausal woman, that's why we think we can still help you.
that's amazing, actually. Thank you. No, honestly. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your question.
Question from me: how can we make more people follow our socials? Participate after.
Where's the slide?
Different one. Never mind.
Yeah, please subscribe to socials. The guys, they're doing an amazing job. I'm their devoted attendee and speaker since the very beginning. Their audience is always very engaged, very involved, no fluff. And now we're here, Cold Base in the city center. They really do everything themselves, all the pizzas and drinks. They're carrying it in the big boxes, big cases, carefully putting them out there because they care and I know how much value and attention they put. Am I selling you correctly.
But you shouldn't, but anyway.
So there is no vested interest. The guys started doing this because they wanted to connect, because they wanted to have a community around them. So a round of applause to adhocSpace.